We all love the low country lifestyle, which is why we should do our best to protect it. To get insurance that helps you protect your home from whatever the low country throws at you, contact CT Lowndes and Company today. Their local agents can review your coverage to help make sure you're properly protected. CT Lowndes and Company has been helping protect and insuring the low country since 1850. Visit ctlowndes.com to learn more and request a quote. That's CTLOWNDES.com.
All right, so this is a Nove Education podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after a 2-week hiatus. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you, everybody who's been hitting me up on social media. You know what I mean. If you haven't already been following me, I had a poll about the fights this weekend. I'll probably put another one up just so I can get you guys' fresh opinion. Hit me up at Novid Ortiz. That's on Instagram and Twitter. But yes, thank you for sticking around. It has been far too long, if you ask me. You know what I mean? But to be totally transparent, I had to take 2 weeks off, man. I had to adjust to this new schedule. But everything's good now. Let's get it on cracking. Have no fear, ladies and gentlemen. That's why, man. But yes, we are back full time now, an episode a week, maybe even two, depending on how I feel. We will be getting into the NFL discussions a little bit more later. As we know, training camp has started, but there's still that thing going around with the running back situations that need to get cleared up. And, there's some fog there that I want to go away before I start giving my opinion or dictating on what I think is going to happen. You know what I mean? So don't trip. We're going to be getting into that. But if you have a question on certain things, certain topics, you want to hear my opinion, hit me up, let me know, and I most definitely will discuss it, ladies and gentlemen. We have a big fight weekend this Saturday, but before we get into that, when we last spoke, we did not get to cover, discuss the Volkanovski fight. That's how long it's been. So on that card, I have receipts. I have people that can back me up. And I hit up everybody that I'm taking Dricus du Plessis to TKO Robert Whittaker in the third. I believe he TKO'd him in the second. Now, the reason being was because Dricus du Plessis, his fighting style is dope. Like, you can't really plan for it. It's kind of crazy. But the main reason is because there was word that he got nasal passage surgery. You know what I mean? And for those of you who are are fellow sufferers of nasal blockage, you know what I mean? Every day I'm stuffy right now. Allergies, if not that, my deviated septum, if not that, just my biology. That's just how it is. If we get about we get there's about 3 to 4 days, if you're lucky, that you're able to breathe through both nostrils. Sorry, getting very scientific. And when that happens, it is just beautiful. Everything, the colors seem more brighter, you seem a bit more stronger, jokes seem more funnier. It's just great, So with that being said, I've always felt like Dricus du Plessis, his fighting style was dope. But the main problem for me and for other people was his stamina. Now, if you could just clear up that blockage in your nostrils and get just a little bit more air to those lungs, a little bit more blood pumping through, a little bit more, whatever you call it, all that bullshit, it makes a difference. And I was counting on that to make a difference. And Dricus du Plessis ended up winning, calls out Izzy and whatever. And all that shit was all hype for just about a week. And then as we know now, Dricus du Plessis is out against Israel Adesanya due to an injury, quote unquote injury. And now we got our boy, Sean Strickland. There's sometimes where I would just want to call him Sugar Sean Strickland, but hey, bro. If I don't want to call him that because I don't even know if I called him that on the show, but I don't want to get a DM from Sean Strickland saying, "Hey, bud, there ain't no sugar in this tank, bud. I'll fuck you up." I don't want to be on that side of the DMs from Sean Strickland. But he's next up for Izzy. And yeah, so the Dricus du Plessis shit is going to have to wait, I guess, for a while. But we'll see what happens. Also, took Brandon Moreno that fight. Brandon Moreno ended up losing to Pantoja, which you got to give it up to Pantoja, bro. He fought a great fight. He had a great game plan. And it seems that he has Moreno's number. That's exactly what it seems like. A lot of people saying it was a robbery. And come on, bro. We got to stop. And I've said this time and time again. We got to stop throwing around that term robbery so loosely. You know what I mean? A robbery, you cannot call a robbery to a close fight. Like straight up. It was a very close fight. I thought Pantoja ended up taking it. I thought he took I think the third and then definitely that fifth round. That fifth round was very crucial for Moreno. And yeah, he definitely didn't take that round. But a robbery, here's what a robbery is, especially even in the fight game, is when one fighter is dominating another fighter and the victory is given to the fighter who was being dominated. That is a robbery, ladies and gentlemen. There was no one being dominated in this fight. It was a close fight, probably the best fight of the year. If you ask me, if it's one of the best fights of the year, it's going to be up there. So there's no way it was a robbery. Do I see them two fighting again? Yes, most likely. That's most likely what's going to happen, but we'll have to see going forward. And then in that main event, I took Volkanovski to win, to beat Yair Rodriguez. And it's crazy because when Yair had been coming up, a lot of people had thought that he was the kryptonite to Volkanovski, including myself too. Questions were like, hey, how is Volkanovski going to handle his unorthodox style, his creative kicks? That was the big story going around with Yair, his creative kicks. And don't get me wrong, he is creative and he's very unorthodox. But I told my boy Victor Guru, at Satan Uncensored, Big G, Joey Caps, Joey Beards, and my boy Julian, I told him, I just think Volkanovski is going to shut all that shit down. He's just going to shut that shit down. And there won't be enough time nor the space for Yair to get creative and to get big like that, you know? And ultimately took Volkanovski in a TKO. And that's what happened, you know? So we're going to have to see. He's probably going to be fighting Ilia Topuria next because Makhachev is going to have that rematch against Oliveira, which a lot of people, I don't know why a lot of people are talking shit because it's like, dude, he could have gone either way. What, do you want him to hold up the lightweight division again to fight Volkanovski again? Or do you want to move the lightweight division and get, you know, that rematch that pretty much everybody wants? I would rather see the Volkanovski fight, don't get me wrong, but it's the right thing to do. You know, maybe Volkanovski a little bit later in the career, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Then this past weekend, we had Tom Aspinall returning to the octagon after his devastating ass knee injury. My boy Victor Guru definitely knows about that. Aspinall suffered a horrible knee injury against Curtis Blades, I believe it was last year. And now he is back. He looks way better than ever. Granted, though, he was fighting against Tybura. And now Tybura is not the cream of the crop, but he's still a bad motherfucker. He's a top 10 in the heavyweight division. Well, probably not anymore, but top 10 in the heavyweight division at that time, right? Let's see right here. He was actually number 10. He was number 10 in that division. And the way he walked through him, I mean, made quick work of it. Made you remember who Tom Aspinall was. Just before the injury, he was the heir to the throne, bro. He was the heir to the Francis Ngannou throne, the Stipe Miocic throne. And he was the guy who can be the dominator of that division, gets injured. Now, I'm looking at the glass half full. The way I see it, and I mean this with no disrespect, I think the injury was probably one of the best things to happen to Aspinall. Now, because I've suffered injury, when you suffer an injury in sports, and if you're an athlete, it changes your mindset, bro. It changes your mindset like 100%. If you're not an athlete, I mean, I don't know if you can relate to it, but when you get an injury, it changes your mindset, bro. It makes you realize, oh shit, like nothing is for sure, dog. Nothing is for sure. Let's be smart. Let's be tactical. Let's be a killer. And that's exactly what I saw from Aspinall. So, you know, watch out for that heavyweight division. It just got a little bit more interesting with my boy Jailton Almeida coming into the picture. We have Aspinall coming in. And then we have, of course, Cyril Gane versus Sergey Pavlovich. That's going to be a big fight I want to see. Of course, Aspinall said, hey, I'm going to be right there ringside watching this fight, and then I'm going to fight the winner, and then I'm going to fight Jon Jones, is what Aspinall says. Sounds good. Sounds just like Jon Jones says. Yeah, sounds good. But as we probably know, Jones is most likely to retire. Excuse me. Retire after the Stipe Miocic fight. And hey, I mean, you can't hate on the man for doing that. But let's say if he does fight Aspinall, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what that shit's like. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Damn. But it's very interesting because Aspinall, he's a breath of fresh air to the heavyweight division now. And it just got a little bit more interesting. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Who do you guys think will take that fight? I mean, if it ever happens. It's easy to be like, oh, hey, well, Aspinall can beat Jon Jones. He can. Yeah, he can. He has all the technique, the skills, and to do it. But will he, though? I'm not going to totally go up against Bones like that. You know what I mean? But all right, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. This weekend, we have UFC 291, the battle for the BMF title, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, the BMF title was created for a Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal fight. And that was cool. A lot of people don't like it. I fucks with it. You know what I'm saying? It's the bad motherfucker bout. And we got two bad motherfuckers going at it. We have the rematch between the number 2 lightweight, Dustin the Diamond Poirier, versus the number 3 lightweight, Justin the Highlight Gaethje. When you hear these two names, there's no breakdown you need. There's no strategy you need to fucking look at. There's no techniques you need to look at. Maybe if you want to get very, very technical, yes. But we all know that both these fighters are going to go in and just beat the shit out of each other. It is said by both these fighters that that's what they want to do, that it's not going to go the 5 rounds. And if I was a betting man, I would say it's most likely not going to go the 5 rounds. But me personally, if you want to get a little bit more technical on the technical side, I will have to go with Dustin Poirier, strictly because of his submission skills. I think both of them are about equal on the feet. You know, maybe I'll give the edge to Dustin just because his boxing has been able to last throughout the rounds, whereas Gaethje, he comes out firing and he kind of fizzles out towards the end. But even against his last fight against Fiziev, he looked good, bro. And Fiziev was, a lot of people thought that was his shot a little bit too early, but he looked damn good against Fiziev. He looked damn good against Tony Ferguson back then. It didn't really look too good against Chandler because that was just another bloodfest. But both these fighters can fucking strike, and they both have knockout power. But the more knockout power edge has to go to Justin Gaethje. You know what I'm saying? So Dustin Poirier, 29-7, Gaethje 25-4. Both fighters coming out their wins. Both seemingly likely to be their last shot at that title, because obviously if they win, this is just the winner between who they're fighting between against Makhachev and Oliveira. And I would love to see that. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see a Dustin Poirier versus Makhachev. I really do want to see that because, you know, if you remember, yeah, spoiler, I have Dustin Poirier winning this fight. Spoiler alert. But if you remember, in his fight against Khabib, he almost had Khabib. If you guys recall that fight, he almost had Khabib in a choke. Now Khabib is being Khabib, you know, got out of it. He says he thought he really was going to choke me out in front of the father. He thought he was really going to choke me out in front of the father. This guy's crazy, bro. Comes back and gets submitted. And I would like to see the heir to Khabib's throne get tested by a Dustin Diamond Poirier. And that will be a hell of a fight. You know, a lot of people I don't know why they're writing off Makhachev. I don't know what, I don't understand the hate. Maybe it's the Khabib. Maybe it's the close fight against fucking Volkanovski. Maybe it's the fucking, I don't know what it is. I don't know why everybody's just like writing him off. But let's not act like Makhachev didn't just manhandle Oliveira. Now, I'm a big Oliveira fan, but let's be real. Come on, bro. I would have loved to seen a Dustin Poirier Makhachev fight, but now I guess they got to go in the rankings, got to get the lightweight division moving. So ultimately, I'm taking Dustin Poirier, and he's going to be calling out the winner between Oliveira and Makhachev, and we'll see from there. Next, we have the light heavyweight bout, and Jan Blachowicz, the number 3 light heavyweight, and now the number 2 light heavyweight, the new Alex Poatan Pereira. This is going to be a badass fight. A lot of people have been highly anticipating this fight. There's a lot of matchups that Pereira could have gone to first in order to move up in that division, but I think this guy is just championship caliber. And with Jamal Hill giving up the bout because of his Achilles heel injury, which totally fucking sucked, by the way. Shout out to Jamal Hill. Hope he's doing all right. Sweet dreams, sweet dreams. But they have not announced that this is going to be the interim fight, which I don't think they should yet. And I don't think that Jamal Hill should have came out and said that publicly yet. Maybe after this fight, he should have said it, and then that way it doesn't cause any confusion. But nonetheless, we still got a badass fight in our hands. We have the Polish Power, Jan Blachowicz, the former light heavyweight champion, coming off of a draw in his last fight. If you remember the last fight against Magomed Ankalaev, which is another fighter who are people just writing off. Like, I don't understand the hate for Ankalaev. I don't understand why he's not being mentioned in an interim title fight or a big title shot. Maybe he's pissed off with the UFC himself. I don't know what is going on with that situation, but what I do know is that I believe he won that fight against Jan. Nonetheless, this proves that Jan Blachowicz can be driven into deep waters, into deep war, and still come out on top, still come out feeling victorious. And we all know that he has that championship mentality in him. So this is going to be a big fight for Jan Blachowicz. Other side, we have Alex Pereira. We already know the story of Poatan. He came into the UFC hunting a Israel style bender Adesanya, ends up beating him, gets the rematch, ends up losing to Adesanya, and now he moves up in weight because he was draining too much water. The weight cuts were tough for him. Now, supposedly, this is supposed to be the better weight class for Alex Pereira, which a lot of people agree. I don't have enough information on that to maybe put an account, but I do know that is cutting weight sucks. Every fighter says it, every fighter does it, and they all say the same thing, that it sucks ass. And when you're able to not cut as much weight, just to get to your regular fighting shape, they say that's the best feeling in the world. So we're going to have to see this. We're going to have to see what a new Pereira looks like. So, but what I'm going to go with Jan Blachowicz. I think Jan, he is smart. He's savvy. Remember, he was losing the fight to Israel Adesanya, but that's because I think he started to trade with him. Ultimately said, fuck that, I'm going to take him down. And as we know, Pereira doesn't really have good grappling skills, and I don't know how his wrestling defense is going to be, especially against a heavier Jan Blachowicz. And we know Jan is going to come in heavy that night. So unless Poatan can land a fucking big arrow strike like he usually does, I don't think that he's going to win. I'm going to take Jan Blachowicz, and I'm going to take him by a split decision, but it may just be a boring fight. It may just be a boring fight for people. So just be aware. Be aware of that. Keep that in mind. Also, we have a welterweight fight. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Michel Pereira. Both fighting styles are similar, where Pereira is more of the creative acrobat. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is more of the sniper kick technician. Both fighters are really, really fun to watch, especially outside of the octagon. They have good personalities, so it's tight. Stephen Thompson, 17-6-1. Michel Pereira is 28-11 with 2 no contests. Both fighters coming off of their wins. Right now, Pereira is the number 15 welterweight, and Stephen Thompson is the number 7 welterweight. This is a good fight for Stephen Thompson. I thought that he was going to take somebody in the top 5. I thought that, even though that top 5 is a little murky right now, I thought that he might have took someone in the top 5, but this is a good fight for him to get him into the swing of things, because if Pereira wins, he has another shot at getting into that top 10 in the division. And this is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, quote unquote, last hoorah towards that chip, towards that belt. You know what I'm saying? And it gets crazy up there. It gets crazy up in that top of that welterweight division, as we know. But this is a good fight for both these fighters. But ultimately, I'm going to have Stephen Thompson coming out on top. Had it been a 5-round fight, I would have maybe gone Pereira because of all the unorthodox shit that Pereira can do. But I think Stephen Thompson keeps him at bay, keeps him at leg length, and just ultimately picks him apart. And if it takes him to the ground, I think Stephen Thompson has been training a lot with that grappling defense, submission defense, wrestling defense. And, I think he can handle himself pretty much in all aspects against Michel Pereira. Although I'm not going to sleep on Pereira, but if I'm a betting man, I'm going to go up again. I'm going to go with my boy, Wonderboy Thompson. Next, we have in the lightweight division, we have fan favorites, Tony El Cucuy Ferguson returning to the octagon versus Bobby Green, or I forget his name now, is King. I believe now that's his name. Both fighters are very much fan favorites. I like both these fighters. I think they're both great on and off the octagon. And, Tony Ferguson coming off of a loss, his last fight, I believe his last fight was against, let's see his last fight. I'm not sure if it was Nate Diaz. Yeah, his last fight was against Nate Diaz. And that was that whole craziness. And he ended up getting submitted. But people are saying, that Tony Ferguson, like, why is he doing this? This is his last hurrah. He's going to get put down by Bobby Green. I'm not so sure. He may get put down by someone else, but I'm not so sure that it is Bobby Green. Now, if Bobby Green starches him, that's one thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go with Tony Ferguson on this fight. All respect to Bobby Green. Love Bobby Green. Think he's a badass fighter. I think Tony Ferguson goes back to his old ways as trying to get the submission. Now, I think that Bobby Green's submission defense is good, but it's not better than Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu. I think Tony Ferguson will submit him, whether it be a choke, an armbar, fucking ankle twist, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is, but I think Tony Ferguson wins this fight by submission, and then I think he calls it. I think he retires. I think he leaves the gloves in the octagon and walks into the fucking stars and becomes, this legend in UFC lore. You know what I'm saying? We seen that in the last fight with Robbie Lawler. And if you guys remember when Robbie Lawler went out with that knockout against Nico Price. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen with Tony Ferguson on this fight, ladies and gentlemen. And then in the last fight, or the first fight of the main card, we have Michael Chiesa, number 12 welterweight, going up against Kevin Holland. Right now, Michael Chiesa, my boy Big Mouth, Kevin Holland. Michael Chiesa right now is 18-6, 11 wins by submission, 5 first-round finishes. And my boy Kevin Big Mouth Trailblazer Holland is 24-9, 14 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission, and 11 first-round finishes. This fighting style between both these fighters is very similar. This is a good card, bro, because all these matchups stylistically are perfect for each other. And ultimately, I'm going to be going with my boy Kevin Big Mouth Holland. I'm never going to go against Kevin Holland. You know what I mean? We had that slip up. Remember when he the whole shit with the Khamzat Chimaev, and then they just threw him to Khamzat. He lost that fight, and then he fought up against homeboy Stephen Thompson, and they had their fucking, like, I don't know what it was. They had their goddamn they had that little thing where, if they went to the ground, that there would be no grappling. So whatever, I threw that one out the window too. Comes back, fights Ponzinibbio, ends up TKOing Ponzinibbio, and now he's back on this path that he was set to be upon before the Khamzat Chimaev. So I'm gonna take up my boy Kevin Holland in this fight. So I'm taking Kevin Holland. I'm taking Tony Ferguson. I'm taking Stephen Thompson. I'm taking Jan Blachowicz. And I'm taking Dustin Poirier in the UFC 291 Battle of the Bad Motherfucker bout. Who do you got, ladies and gentlemen? Y'all let me know. There's a couple of fighters in the undercards that you might want to look out for. Of course, we know we have our boy Derek Lewis fighting in the prelims against Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. They have de Lima, the favorite right here, but I'm going to go with my boy Derek Lewis, the Black Beast. You know what I mean? I'm going to go with the one round wonder. Say that 10 times fast. And I'm going to have him whooping that ass in the first round. Another name to look out for is Gabriel Bonfim. As you know, the Bonfim brothers, I believe both are still undefeated. Right now, Bonfim is 14-0 going up against 16-4 Trevin Giles. Trevin Giles kind of been he's kind of been the, he's been a veteran. He's been in the game for a minute, in the UFC for a minute. So we'd like to see it. Ultimately, I'm going to go with Bonfim in a submission right there. I think that the submission skills and the hype is pretty big right there. Plus 260 underdog. Hey, if you want to put some coin on him, I would go ahead and definitely put some coin on him. But yeah, let me know who you got for UFC 291 Battle of the Bad Motherfucker bout, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Now we can get into the really nitty-gritty. Okay, so yesterday morning at 4:30 in the morning in Japan, Naya Inoue defeated Stephen Fulton in a TKO in the 8th round. Now, if you don't know these fighters, okay, get to know Naoya, the monster, Inoue. To me, right now, he is the pound for pound. You know, he's a 4-weight division champion. He is the pound for pound champion until further notice. He is number 1, right? Go ahead and look him up. Do whatever you need to do. Get your whatever stats, whatever. He is number 1 right now, pound for pound in all of boxing. Until further notice. The notice is coming this Saturday. What is this Saturday? This Saturday, July the 29th, Las Vegas, Nevada, in the T-Mobile Arena, we have the much highly anticipated, the highly weighted, the matchup of probably the decade. We have Earl Spence Jr., the heir to the welterweight throne, taking on Terrence Bud Crawford, the heir to the welterweight badasses. Oh, shit. I can't wait for this fight. This fight has been in talks for quite some time. You know, there has been a lot of people saying that people are ducking Spence, people are ducking Crawford, both of them somewhat the boogeymen of the division right now. You know, thank God to PBC for putting this fight together. Can't wait for it to go down. Let's go to the tail of the tape. Right now we have Earl Spence Jr., 28-0 with 22 knockouts right now. He is the IBF World Welterweight Champion, the WBA Super World Welterweight Champion, and the WBC Welterweight Champion. Currently a southpaw fighting out of DeSoto, Texas, by way of Long Island, New York. So you know there's a lot of people that are on him. Or you know there's a lot of people who are going to be cheering him on. I love Earl Spence. I think his fighting style is bad as fuck. I think he's bad as fuck. You know, shout out to him for recovering after his car crash. He had a very, very bad, deadly car crash that, you know, it could have killed him, bro. It could have killed him, but now he's back into the ring. You know what I'm saying? Last fight versus Yordonis Ugas. He beat him by a TKO, but as we know, and if you remember, Earl Spence did get into some trouble in that fight against Ugas, ultimately came back and won. The 3 previous fights before that, he fought the big names of Danny Garcia, beating him by unanimous decision, then beating Sean Porter by a split decision, which a lot of people thought it went Porter's way. I personally did not. I think Porter's a great fighter, great retired fighter now, but I thought that Spence won that fight. And then we had the Mikey Garcia fight. Mikey Garcia was 39-0 right there. And Spence beat him by a unanimous decision. I think he made a lot of people unnoticed that who Spence is that fight. You know what I'm saying? Earl the Truth, Spence. I think a lot of people think that he is going to be not only the victor of this fight, but he is going to be the heir to that throne, to where that Mayweather throne, where he's going to be at the top of the game, being not only just a shit talker, but just the smooth, the savvy guy, savvy person who doesn't take too much damage, who lays it on you, and who just keeps winning and will ride off into the sunset undefeated. That's what a lot of people that think that Earl Spence is. A lot of people think that of Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis. Who knows? But we know that Davis won his last fight. We know that Haney won his last fight. And now we need Earl Spence to win this fight. Except we have our boy, Terrence Bud Crawford, 39-0 with 30 knockouts, ladies and gentlemen. 30 knockouts right now. He is the WBO World Welterweight Champion. And I believe this is what they are fighting for. I believe they're going for the WBO Welterweight Championship right now. Bud, only thing about Crawford, I mean, we call him Bud. You know what I'm saying? That's his name, Bud. He is 2 years older. 2 years older. Crawford is 35. Spence is 33. So, I mean, not too much. He is a southpaw and southpaw as well. By way of, let's see right here, my bad. By way of Omaha, Nebraska. And that's where he's coming out of, Omaha, Nebraska. So he kept it real, kept it legit. Last fight against David Avanesian, he beat him by a TKO. So here we go. David Avanesian, win by TKO. Sean Porter, win by TKO. Cal Brook, win by TKO. Kavalaskas, win by TKO. Amir Khan, win by TKO. Jose Benavidez Jr., win by TKO. Jeff Horn, win by TKO. Julius Andongo, win by knockout. John Molina Jr., win by TKO. So, out of all these fights, there's a couple of big names. You got Sean Porter. The Sean Porter fight was really the one that really fired the spark between Spence and Crawford actually being a real fight, because this is a fighter who they both fought, and Spence beating him by a split decision, and it was kind of controversial to where Bud Crawford TKOs him. I believe he TKO'd him in the 8th round, and it was so smooth the way he did it. So now both fighters are highly, highly top-ranked fighters. A lot of people thought that Bud Crawford was being ducked by even from the likes of Mayweather to Canelo to Jamal Charlos, the brothers. And well, we're about to see who is the top dog of them all right now. You know what I mean? We have the heavyweight fighters right now. It's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit crazy with Tyson Fury taking on Francis Ngannou. We have, Canelo taking on Jamal Charlo, which is going to be a badass fight in September, but that's still in September. We already had the Garcia versus Davis fight, and we already know the outcome of that. Now Davis is where he's at. The Haney versus Lomachenko. Lomachenko, I felt like that was a robbery. I felt like Lomachenko was putting it on him, but hey, to each his own. We had the Teofimo Lopez versus Josh Taylor. Teofimo putting it on Taylor. You know what I'm saying? So all these stars are now aligned for every one of these fighters to fight against each other. We know that Garcia versus Spence most likely will not happen, but we know that these stars are aligned. The beginning to this war, for all these fighters to be fighting each other now, this is the battle for that king. This is the battle for the top dog. The battle for, I believe, the number one pound for pound slot. Depending on how it goes, though. Depending on how the fight goes, until further notice. Spence, the smooth fighter to keep you at bay. Great jab. Great defense, actually, though. Great defense. Although we did see him get hurt a little bit in the Ugas fight. He did get hurt a little bit, but he bounced back. And, ultimately, he has badass defense, I think. On the other side, we have Terrence Bud Crawford. Crawford being the more counter puncher, the more information downloader is what they say. The knockout artist, someone who gets in there, and he fights not only southpaw, but orthodox. He could switch stance. Now, it may not seem like something too big when I just kind of he say it, but when you have to prepare for a fighter, not only do you have to prepare for a fighter, you prepare for the stance, their angles, how they're coming at you, and these are professional fighters, bro. Now you got to do all that preparation for basically two fighters in the same guy. That's what being able to fight on both styles, both stances is. I'm pretty sure Spence can do that too, but Bud Crawford has been making a knockout artist name of himself because of him being able to switch stances. So I'm curious to see how Spence is going to handle that. It don't look like it if you guys look at the highlights, but Bud Crawford hits hard. As you know, he's 39-0 with 33 knockouts. So a whole 10 plus more fights in the octagon, in the ring, than Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence has been there with a couple of top names, but I believe that a lot of people have been ducking Bud Crawford, and this is going to be a big test for Bud. Can he be there with the biggest name in the welterweight division? Can Errol Spence finally shut the monster down and shut the fucking haters up? Can Bud Crawford finally rise up and get the credit he deserves? This is going to be a badass fight. This is, to me, the Super Bowl of boxing right now, bro. This is the Super Bowl of boxing. I probably said that before with Haney. I probably said that before with Taylor and Teofimo. But I'm saying that again. I will be going with my boy, Terrence Bud Crawford, in a TKO in the 7th round, ladies and gentlemen. I think 7 is that magic number for Terrence. People are saying that both these fighters are going to be going at it right at the beginning. And I do believe that. The way both these fighters are talking about it, the way they're training about it, they both look good. They both look at the top of their game. They both look prime staked. I think that they're both are going to be going at it. Maybe not Spence so much, but if it is true that Spence does start to go toe-to-toe from the first and second rounds, then I think that's a way better advantage for Bud Crawford, and I'll take Bud Crawford with a TKO. Now, if Spence wins, he's going to have to be being patient, picking him apart. Do not fall into the traps. Do not fall into the game, and then he'll probably pick him apart. And if he doesn't get a TKO in the late rounds, he'll probably end up winning by a unanimous decision. If it's a split decision, of course we're going to want the rematch. Of course we're going to get the shit talk. And if it's a draw, all hell is going to break loose because we know that boxing is fucked. So I'm going to be going with Terrence Bud Crawford, my boy. Been rolling with him for the past 7 years. I think this dude is one of the best boxers, one of the most ducked boxers, and I just like his style. There was a picture of people getting all hyped on fucking Errol Spence wearing the black Air Force Ones. We know who the black Air Force One fighter is, bro. Come on, we know which one it is, bro. We know which one it is. So we'll see about that. Who do you guys got? Let me know, though. And I think that will be it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. It has been real. Got to get ready. Got to go to work. You know what I'm saying? Got to get that shmoney in to keep paying for all this stuff, But yeah, this Saturday, bro, let me know who y'all got. Do you have Dustin Poirier? Do you have, or Justin Gaethje? Do you have Jan Blachowicz or Alex Poatan Pereira? And then in that much highly anticipated boxing match, Las Vegas, Nevada, who do you have? Earl the Truth Spence Jr. versus Terrence Bud Crawford for all the marbles, the pound for pound number ones, the pound for pound top G's, the number one welterweight champion. Who do y'all got? Let me know. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking around. Love y'all. Peace.
All right, so this is a No Education podcast.